Welcome to the Can Wine Podcast, where we open cans of wine and talk about it. We are in Season 4, Episode 29, and our fantastic journey continues. And we're not traveling too far this time. We're in California, where we're going to get to our wine of the week. Before we get to that, let's talk about our Wine Nerd Word of the Week. And to help us with that is our man for de-alcoholized wines. Dean, are you there?
Good evening, Brad. How are you?
I'm great. And you've decided to give us a Wine Nerd Word of the Week?
The word is chapitalization. It is the process of adding sugar to a wine when the sugar content is not high enough to get the alcohol up to an acceptable level. And it's done quite a bit in Europe, but it's actually illegal in California.
Yeah, there's quite a few areas where it's outlawed because of the adding something, primarily sugar, to boost up the alcohol content. And this quite often was done in areas that have cooler temperatures, so the wine doesn't necessarily ripen as much and have as much sugar to create the alcohol that is used in wine. So places like California and some European areas have banned it, but I think Argentina has outlawed it. But Germany and some other places still see it as a legitimate way of increasing the alcohol content in a wine. But it also has impacts on the flavor as well. And the name chapitalization, which sounds like capitalization with an H randomly thrown in there, comes from Jean-Antoine Claude Chapital, who was a 19th century chemist who came up with the idea of adding the sugar in there and boosting the alcohol content of the wine. So chapitalization, that's our Wine Nerd Word of the Week. And that brings us right up to our Can of the Week, which is right here. If you want to introduce that, Dean.
I'd be happy to. Our Can of the Week is a non-alcoholic offering. It's a bubbly red by the Surely Company, alcohol removed wine in the 8.5 fluid ounce can. Only 35 calories a serving.
Exactly. And this is Forward Food Incorporated out of Austin, Texas, brings us this wine. It's a California wine made primarily from Cabernet Sauvignon and Pinot Noir grapes from California. And this is, for those of you who are astutely following along, yes, we did open this last year around this time. This is a new vintage of this NA wine, so we're trying a new vintage of the same wine. And I remember last time it was pretty nice. In fact, Kana quite likes this one, and it's one of her go-to favorites. It doesn't hurt that it's available at our local grocery store at a reasonable price, and availability is always a thing in cans of NA or anything. So we're happy to try it, and it's been a pretty steady one since we tried it last year. So I don't know if you remember, we tried that when we were out at Croton Point, I think was where the opening happened.
We've had several Surely varieties, and they've all been well received by us anyway. Yeah,
and the first Surely that I received was a good friend and neighbor of ours gave me the Surely Brut, which was a kind of a champagne type of version, and I was like, that's good. And it took me another 6 to 8 months before I was able to find it at the local grocery store. So it's still around, and the sparkling red was a nice addition. And I think we finished a season one time with a Surely Rosé NA. So they're very solid on the NA business, and we like them. So what else can we see? It's vegan friendly, and as you mentioned, it's low calorie. They do have to put the contents on, because that's one of the things with wine that has alcohol in it. It's regulated differently. So this is a de-alcoholized red wine blend, water, cherry concentrate, white grape concentrate, natural flavors. It's carbonated, and it does contain some sulfite. So how do they squeeze the alcohol out of this, Dean?
It's by the now familiar spin cone distillation method, where it's a low temperature and low vacuum to drive off the alcohol without bruising the wine. Mm-hmm. Which is actually interesting. Though the founder of this company, he founded it with the intention of making NA wines, not just as a side for another business. He wanted to make good tasting NA wines.
Yeah, and they've done a real good job from what I can tell so far. I didn't find a lot of information on the founders of this, but obviously you have, and they do use California wine, so that's a good thing. And the spin cone method, as you said, spins it sort of like a centrifuge, while at the same time in low pressure, low temperature, able to pull the alcohol out and not remove all the flavoring components. So that's interesting. Are you ready to do what else we do on the Canned Wine Podcast, Dean?
Which is open cans of wine and talk about them.
And we have been talking, but we need to open it. Okay, Dean, are you ready to do what we do on the Canned Wine Podcast?
I am.
Okay, I would say this is... What are you seeing? A deep garnet or...
Deep garnet. I've got my color chart out from the Wine Folly book, and I'm saying deep garnet.
Yeah, I was saying maybe deep ruby, but it does have a slightly brown garnetish tinge to it. And as usual, I do smell a lot of black fruits, blackberry, cherry.
I'm not surprised at the cherry. They added that cherry concentrate.
Yeah. Definitely wine. And between vintages, pretty consistent. This kind of tastes what it reminds me of what we tasted last year. And what am I going to mix this with? Well, I have a bit of a treat because it's a Lent season. Our local pizza place is making a clam pizza, which he does once a year, and I think this will go very well with it. So that's what I'm having. What else could you have it with? Any sort of savory stuff like that. It's kind of like a sparkling Lambrusco, if you want a comparison.
I would always go with my favorite chocolate-covered strawberries with NA wine.
Yeah, hitting the chocolate. That's always a good one.
This is fairly dry, and so I think the sweetness of the chocolate would be great.
I think so too. It's not very tannic, but it is pretty dry.
Very nice mouthfeel, great finish. They do a good job with these wines.
Yeah, it's real wine without the alcohol, so all the things that come along with it are still there. I'm sure it has lots of beneficial polyphenols and such like that. So, as usual, we sent out a bunch of postcards last week to people that commented on our YouTube feed or subscribed. So I'll flash a couple pictures of those in for people that are wondering if we actually do it. I stumbled through the snowbanks to get to the mailbox to send them out, and I have some picked up some very hip cards when I was visiting the IBM lab, which is quite close to me here. We were up there at a family science day, and I saw they were giving out free postcards, and I'm like, yes, I like postcards. So anybody that does answer our head scratcher for this week, or puts a nice comment or subscribes, if you show up on our radar, you're going to get a postcard. So that's how we roll here, and we appreciate all of our listeners that way. Our shout out for this week goes to Gustavo, who you actually know, Dean. He was telling me that he's got a new addition to his family. He's traveling down to I think it was Arizona to visit his daughter and see his brand new grandchild. So congratulations, Gustavo. Cheers. He's
Best to you, Gustavo. Best to you.
Big fan of the podcast. So we're hoping that you have a good time down there and are able to find a few cans to enjoy down there. So that's our shout out for this week, and to all those people who have answered. Your cards are on the way, and take a selfie with you with your card. We're happy to put it up and give you a shout out again. So our head scratcher for this week, it's a bit of a puzzler. This is a California wine, but I'm going to ask you, where is the company that produces it from? What state are they located in? So that's a bit of a head scratcher. If you have to go back and listen, I have mentioned that. And in closing, we'd like to thank Dean, our Dean of De-alcoholization, for being so kind as to come up and come up with a Wine Nerd Word of the Week and all of these things. We really appreciate it, Dean. And for those of you that don't know, Dean's also active in, he likes to watch all the episodes, not just the NA ones, and is great at pointing out things that we're doing well and things that we could do better. So thanks again, Dean. Appreciate it.
Always great to be a part of this.
Cheer. Yeah, we've had fun over these last 4 years. And I'd like to thank you, too, for helping me discover the world of NA wines. There's a real place, and I'm enjoying them. So that's something that I wouldn't have necessarily tried without your encouragement. So thanks again for that.
You're welcome.
Thank you for everyone who's tuning into the Can Wine Podcast. Your time is appreciated. We hope you've learned a little bit about wine and some wine terms, and we do try to stress the education things here, and we're happy that you're here joining us. And this is where we open cans of wine and talk about it. And remember to enjoy responsibly. Perhaps an NA beverage is a responsible choice for you, and if not, just because it comes in a can doesn't mean you can drink and drive. And remember, the Can Wine Podcast is a Center Stage production, all rights reserved.